My major design project was called Life in a Metro. Life in a Metro was about reclaiming public spaces for use by community, and the public spaces that was identified by me was of a transit hub, particularly the Mandi House metro station. I am Rashika Lungani, a final year interior architecture and design student at IIT. Now, in this project itself, I divided the station in two parts, an underground and an overground metro station. So, what led me to arrive at the Mandi House is a very interesting story. I was transiting one day and I arrived at the station and I saw this massive spans of underutilized space in the middle of what is a very rich locality. It was located near the National School of Drama, the Lalit Kala Academy, the Triveni Kala Sangam, places which are very rich in art and culture, which was not represented in this public space. So I identified its potential and I wanted to change that. Identifying the potential of Mandi House as a site, I needed to understand the site itself. So let me paint you a picture. The site itself is divided into three levels: a ground level, which is where the people enter from, an underground level, which is mainly the concourse level where people move across to the different line, and finally the platform level where people catch their metros. Now, given the importance of functionality over any design, I knew I could not do anything in the platform level, leaving me with the other two levels. And even in the underground level, people moving across and the function of transit was more important than any design intervention. That's why I arrived at a small underutilized area which was mainly next to the gate 3 of the Mandi House metro station, where there were no people moving across and the space was left barren after the token booth was closed down after its discontinuation. The ground level itself had a lot of space and I wanted to use the entirety of it. Now, when I was going through the site itself, there were certain problems which were brought to my mind. On the underground level, I noticed there were no spaces for people to sit. It was just a dull transit space with no character to it, which I thought is something that could be rectified by good design. On the ground level, on the other hand, the situation was a lot more worse. It was 32,000 square feet of area being used for nothing, a paved space at the side of the road, and that was it to it. So with this, I decided to move forward with my project. This analysis made me understand that these two areas I was working on could not have the same design brief because they had different problems and they catered to different people. So at this point, my project bifurcated into two areas. The underground level, which developed into platform art, a cafe plus exhibition space for budding artists and metro users, and the ground level, which became a metro Maidan, and open public space focusing on physical, mental and educational opportunity for all the people around. Identifying what I wanted to do, I needed to research more about how I can achieve this outcome. And I very quickly realized the kind of space I was trying to create did not actually exist anywhere. As a result, my best resort for research was to actually go to metro stations and public spaces separately and see where I could find a cohesive spot for the two of them to coexist. Acquiring the plans for the Mandi House metro station was also a different challenge on its own. Plans for public spaces is usually not shared very openly with public, so I knew it had to be a battle. So I contacted every architect whose email ID was public on the DMRC website, and I mailed them consistently to the point where essentially I got my plans with a reply saying that please stop mailing our team. So that was something which was interesting, but they were really nice enough to help me out and assist me through the process. And with this plan in my hand, I could finally move to the concept stage of my design. The concept development of this project was a journey in itself. Now, with these two areas in my hand, I started with the underground level first. Now here I knew I wanted to create an exhibition space for artists because there is no free exhibition spaces in Mandi House. However, what type of exhibition that should be was something which was a subject of debate between me and my faculty, particularly my head of department, Mr. Snehanshu Mukherjee. I wanted to create a metro museum, and I went to him with the idea, and he straight up told me that's the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard. And essentially, we came to the realization that the general public does not have incentive to go to places where art is being displayed, particularly when you're rushing, trying to get home. It's not your priority. Hence, we came up with the concept to inculcate a cafe within this exhibition to attract the general public by the medium of food. Now, for the ground level, the concept to me came surprisingly easier. It was a different journey than the concourse, and I think that was probably because the space had so much potential that was left untapped. I immediately knew that there was a need for space for physical activity because I saw multiple people playing badminton and skating on the site. I knew there was a space needed for mental relaxation because during the evening, the workers around used to sit in the scorching sun to have their lunch. And I knew there needed to be a space for community interaction so that the community, the colleges, the artists, the theatre enthusiasts can come together to share ideas. And the concept of Metro Maidan came very naturally from there. The proposed zoning for the Metro Maidan is mainly divided in 3 zones. The first zone is mainly art and theatre for use by college and theatre students. The second zone is community interaction zone, mainly revolving around places for people to come together and interact. And the third zone is a physical activity and sport zone, mainly for college students and kids around to come, play, interact and enjoy. So to help you understand my proposed space planning, let me take you through my design. At the road level, we have a bicycle way and a walkway for people to walk during the evenings and engage in physical activity. As you go ahead, there is a Zen garden in the shade of a tree for people to enjoy quiet evenings together. This is disrupted by a musical garden with instruments that create sound to attract the general public. These instruments also aid in the creation of background music for the theatrical performances performed by the students of National School of Drama in the amphitheatre created right next to it. As you go ahead to the community space, there are plenty of sitting areas for people to enjoy a peaceful evening in the shade of a tree or a building or a mural created by artists. And this overlooks a multi-purpose space that is used as a picnic and sitting spot during the day, but transforms into a robust market during the night. What makes this space unique is the Park Se Bazaar benches, which are benches which can be reconfigured to create stalls at night, aiding to the creation of a city market. Further into the night, the shutters of the closed metro station transform into an area for sport enthusiasts and theatre enthusiasts to come together and see movies during the public screenings organized there. As you go ahead towards the physical activity space, a zone located away from the entry and exit gate, receiving limited to no traffic, the transition is marked by a pergola with stained glass that creates a beautiful interaction with the sun. Further ahead, a brick play area is created for the kids, providing a range of sensory interactions to them, providing a comforting closed space without enclosing the area ahead. Further ahead, paved yoga mats, skating ramps, and painted miniature badminton and football courts create an open public space for sport enthusiasts, college students, and the community to come together and engage in a healthier lifestyle. As you come inside the metro station towards the underground level, you will see in front of you near the gate 3 of Mandi House metro station that a bunch of token booths have been left barren. After the token of the metro was discontinued, this area was essentially left as it is without any intervention. And as if right now, the gate 3 of Mandi House metro station has been closed for public because there is not enough foot traffic. As a result, this area away from the transit zone provided a lot of potential. To help you understand my proposed design better, let me paint you a picture. Imagine you're at the Mandi House metro station and you tap your card to exit. Right in front of you, an archway would frame the view of the cafe which lies ahead. The space has also been adorned with a lot of craft, drawing from the heritage of Delhi and the program brief of supporting local artists. This includes a khadi fabric panel made by the khadi spinners and a terracotta dome ceiling that would be commissioned to the potters of Kumargaon. As you go ahead, the presence of plenty of circulation space as per the DMRC standards also becomes very apparent. The most striking feature of this design is the curved walls, which not only serve as a lighting element but also keep viewers at an adequate viewing distance from the wall, at the same time giving them a fun character. The cafe space itself is located inside pivoting and sliding panels that allow artists to display their work as per their own accord and reconfigure the space, making the space dynamic and interactive. The cafe space itself has a bunch of high and low seatings to give plenty of options to the viewers, a diffuse ceiling to allow for plenty of diffuse light also required as per the DMRC standards. The hanging pendant lights in the cafe space are to be commissioned to the kite makers from Kala Kuan as per the proposed design. For the platform art, I took a completely different route. Here, I wanted to create a space that would stand apart from the cold metro environment. For this, I went with a lot of warm materials like brick, wood and cotton steel, along with a lot of reds that would help my space stand apart from the greys of the metro station while also creating a warm and inviting space for the metro users. So model making as a task was something which was extremely daunting to me. I don't have a lot of patience to sit down and make tiny models. As a result, I tried to force my faculty to not let me make models. I went to them multiple times saying that, please, I will do anything, but don't make me make a model. And I was initially proposing creating vague and abstract models to convey my ideas. But they were really adamant that a detailed model is what I needed to put the nail in the coffin for this design. When I started making the model, I knew that it needed to be monochromatic. So I started experimenting with different techniques, and that led me to arise at MDF laser cutting. So with this technique, I was able to efficiently make the layout of my model and start putting it together. The models for the ground level and the concourse still had some difference to it. In the ground level, I had a lot of foliage around and a lot of details to populate the model. But on the concourse, in the end, I felt like the model was missing a final touch. And it was recommended by my father that the concourse model have lights in it to create the illusion of an indoor space. So given the large scale of my ground level, the model for it was made at a 1:250 scale. On the other hand, the concourse level model was made at a 1:50 scale. In the earlier discussions with my faculty, we all were extremely apprehensive about this project. It's a project that has not been done before. There are not a lot of case studies, and working at a public space like a metro station comes with a lot of guidelines and government restrictions. Naturally, we went through a lot of back and forth. There were a lot of arguments. Fortunately, the environment we have fosters these kind of arguments and discussions and back and forth. So we were able to align at a common model for this project. When I was in discussion with my faculty and head of department, Mr. Snehanshu Mukherjee, initially I remember him being very apprehensive about my choice of materiality for the underground level and platform art. We were really not sure whether the contrasting materiality would create the impact we wanted it to or just create a visual disturbance for the people. So we went through a lot of back and forth and iterations. I remember arguing with him saying that I do not want granite in my space. On the other hand, he felt like that would be the ideal way forward. However, these discussions ended up being very fruitful because we were able to align at a common ground. The need for his granite and the need for my wood merged into an application of a brick floor in this space, showing how design discussions are very important to arrive at a holistic and acceptable outcome. Over the course of 6 months, we had like multiple external jurors coming in to review our work and give us feedback. I particularly remember this one jury where I was showing him my design and he said, all well and good, but do they meet the DMRC fire standards? And I remember my entire world just came crashing down because that was something I didn't consider in the first place, which highlights the importance of how critical it is to have outside opinion or a fresh eye on your work. An interesting part of my project was the ground level, the Metro Maidan, which took place at an architectural scale. This really helped me because my faculty are also architects by profession. So their input on something apart from interiors also helped me get a broader perspective of how I can go about my project. If I were to quote one particular feedback like this, it would be by my course leader, Mrs. Rashim Mahajan. I remember I was creating this shamiana for my outdoor space and I went all crazy on the design only for her to come back to me and mention, Rashika, how will the water go down this? What is the drainage system you will put in it? And I was like, what do you mean, ma'am? I created a beautiful design. You're asking me how the water goes down this. So it helped me understand a lot about architecture, landscaping, and the importance of functionality in outdoor spaces. For the platform art, initially, I had proposed the use of PVC panels and a lot of wood and a lot of fabric in my space to create that illusion of fluidity and artist-oriented area. However, I very quickly realized that fabric is not very efficient at fire control. So naturally, this caused me to relook at my material and arrive at materials like brick and cotton steel, which are also approved by the DMRC fire standards. So that was a learning about how to align design with the functionality of a space. I think as a budding designer, our initial overview to any project is very narrow. And for us to be open to more opinions and to be open to other options, we really have to be pushed to our boundaries. And that is what faculty feedbacks and external juries does for us. It forces us to look at things and answer questions which we probably didn't want to answer in the first place. So these were really important to identify the milestones and growth in my design, without which I probably would have just accepted my first iteration and moved on. I remember that I finished my 12th grade in 2020, which was the high point of COVID-19. And at that time, I was just looking for a university whose people I could connect to. And IID proved to be that place for me. I came here to meet the faculty and interact with them, and their opinions, their way of communicating really left an impact on me. And it was that community that pushed me to go forward with IID as my final choice for a university. I knew I wanted to be an interior designer ever since I knew that an interior designer was a profession. I would probably not be able to pinpoint the exact moment when I realized I wanted to do it, but I always knew I wanted to do it. But I had a very naive way of looking at what the profession meant. 4 years ago, when I applied for this course, I thought interior design was all about choosing wall colors and painting pretty things and putting nice things on the wall. However, now I have a more mature way of looking at it, and I realize how technical the profession is. And that's not necessarily something which is to be afraid of. Spaces are complicated to make, yet they look so simple. And that is something which I have learned through these 4 years. Building spaces requires a lot of effort, but at the end of it, the outcome should look effortless. It's about how much effort and detail you put into creating something simple and creating a space which creates an impact on the people around it. I have learned a lot about technical details and design over the 4 years. However, my professional and personal development still paramount all of them. And the critical learning I had during this project was the social responsibility a designer carries. It's very easy to think of a designer as the person who comes at the end of the project to make it look aesthetically pleasing. However, I realized how important a designer is for the general public to be able to use a space, even if it means just giving a shaded space for somebody to eat their lunch during the evening. Being a designer carries a great responsibility towards the community to create spaces for them and to be used by them.